What is up, YouTube? Third Impact here for a Space Dandy Season 2, Episode 2 review. There's music in the darkness, baby. Now, I'm not sure how many times I've said this, or if I've said it before, but this is definitely one of, if not my favorite episode of Space Dandy ever. And that is big praise coming from one of my favorite shows currently. But this episode just seemed so well done and well thought out as being its own standalone episode and story. It wasn't gimmicky, it wasn't trying to spoof something or do anything goofy. It was just an extremely solid episode, and really creepy too. So this episode actually begins with this Ukulele Man alien monologuing. And this Ukulele Man alien is like a skeleton with like a mask and a top hat. Really creepy, but he seems nice enough. He likes telling lots of jokes. He likes laughing at other people's jokes. But, you know, he's never really been too happy or really able to fully smile. So what Ukulele Man does is play this really creepy ukulele music, which essentially forces the person listening to have this sort of fit where they're like hysterical and then they freeze. And the Ukulele Man collects these people. He's able to go inside them and sort of experience their smile. But he's never found a smile that he feels suits him until he found this picture of a dandy. At this point, we switch to the crew, who was at Boobies, of course, and they're having a misunderstanding. There's some weird thing going on, and pretty much Meow and QT start having their own conversation about how if there was a misunderstanding contest, like a universe-wide one or galaxy-wide one, Dandy would most definitely win. And over the course of this conversation, they find out there is one, that they're going to enter Dandy, but it seems Dandy misunderstands them at the time and decides to leave the crew. He can't deal with them anymore, so he leaves, and the other two are a little confused. They don't really know what's going on. But he goes back to the ship. He's like, I just gotta do what I gotta do, most likely off of a misunderstanding. And then he receives a letter telling him that there's this rare alien that is throwing a party and that they want Dandy to come. And obviously, Dandy sees this in his head as being this beautiful alien in a bikini that's beckoning him to come. So this is misunderstanding number 2. And Dandy takes off to this planet to go investigate. He crash lands and he talks to this gerbil woman there who talks to him about this Poro Roca, I believe it is. It's this sort of river of time that floats around this planet. There's this effect that can occur on Earth where, I believe, I don't know if this was science fiction, I don't know if this was legitimate or not, but that rivers or flowing water can flow backwards depending on how intense the gravitational pull is from, say, a satellite or something else. Now that I'm thinking about it, that's probably a little ridiculous. But in science fiction, this could make sense because this river of time is actually floating through space. It's sort of almost on the boundary between this planet and the moon that is orbiting the planet. So it pulls back this river of time, and it allows there to be sort of a time travel effect that takes place with this river. If you go in, you come back out earlier or from a time prior to when you went in. So from there, Dandy begins investigating to find this mansion where this super hot alien is going to be that's actually the Ukulele Man. At the same time, Meow and QT find out that Dandy has won the greatest misunderstander in the universe award, and it's all this food, and they got to go find him. So it seems that between Season 1 and Season 2, they managed to fix their teleportation machine. It works flawless. Well, maybe not flawlessly. I'm not sure if they were just teleporting to the wrong coordinates or it was the machine's issue, but it can teleport them really fast now and with really awesome special effects. So it seems they fixed up something with this, but they accidentally warp somewhere where the Ukulele Man finds them, plays his music, and captures them. Dandy then meets up with the Ukulele Man back at his mansion, where he realizes that he misunderstood, that it's not actually a hot alien, and he's like, well, screw this, I'm going to leave then. And in the back, he finds all of these, like, frozen, or what he thinks like statues, of all the people that Ukulele Man has played for frozen and collected, essentially. And Ukulele Man is going into them and showing him how he can do this. This is his power, but none of them have suited him. That he is a species that is born alone and dies alone. Extremely just depressing stuff. And it almost makes you pity the Ukulele Man. Obviously, the Ukulele Man is doing something that isn't good. He's ruining these people's lives, and he's now ruined Dandy's life by capturing Meow and QT and adding them to his collection. But from the Ukulele Man's perspective, all he wants to be able to do is smile properly. Under the situation and circumstances that this alien exists, they're pretty much doomed to have a completely miserable existence from the day that they're conceived. So you kind of pity the Ukulele Man while also hating him at the same time. And because of him just being extremely just creepy with the music he plays, with his design, it just leaves you just feeling very uneasy about this character. But in a very good way. It was very effective. So the Ukulele Man tries to play the music to paralyze Dandy and collect him, but he manages to resist and runs off with QT and Meow. They take off in the Hawaii Yankee, and Dandy drops Meow and QT into the River of Time to try to fix them, get them to a state that they were at before they were paralyzed with their smile or whatever that music really does to you or makes you feel. And Dandy begins surfing really awesomely on the River of Time, a pretty extended sequence of him surfing like a badass. Just, you know, just chilling, I guess, surfing around, waiting to find QT and Meow or grab them out from a better time. And during this whole thing, you see, like, Mothra going into the wave, turning into a caterpillar, falling in, turning into an egg. And it was very funny because you think, oh, it's a giant moth, it's probably Mothra, but maybe it's just a moth. But, you know, it's not like it goes into, like, the cocoon and then the caterpillar. It's funny that it goes from the moth to the caterpillar to the egg, and it's very much Mothra from Godzilla, how that progression takes place. And there's space battleship Yamato, and it turns into this, like, ship with sails. There's buildings getting turned into pyramids. All sorts of cool stuff like that. And this whole time, Dr. Gel also, there was a scene earlier on where we see him reminiscing about his mama. Oh, mama. And he ends up accidentally getting taken into the River of Time as well. But in there, he finds his mother, and he swims over to him. He's so happy. He's like, oh, mama, mama. And then she just calls him a perv and starts slapping him, and then he goes just floating off down the River of Time. So poor Dr. Gel, even his mother didn't recognize him or something along those lines, and, you know, he accomplishes absolutely nothing again. We're sort of getting sidetracked. While Dandy is surfing, the Ukulele Man shows up for a sort of final showdown. And he says, oh, now that we're at the River of Time, I can just pull out a Dandy from another time who is smiling, because the whole thing is, Ukulele Man cannot collect Dandy's smile anymore because he'll never smile again now that Meow and QT have been turned into statues. So he begins to pull out the smiling Dandy. Along with smiling Dandy, QT and Meow that he put in there earlier start getting pulled out, and they're good. And in an awesome, awesome moment, Dandy surfs up and starts running along this long string that Ukulele Man is using to pull Dandy out, jumps up into the air and just punches Ukulele Man right in the head, which subsequently causes him to just catch fire. And he's just up in the air with his arms stretched out on fire. It was a very, like, visually powerful moment, and this concludes with Ukulele going off on a bit of a monologue about never being able to find his smile and all of this, but Dandy tells him that in this moment he's smiling and he has a great smile, which was also very dark and depressing, that in the moment of his death, burning alive, finally he's able to let go and smile. It was just very strange, very dark. And when Dandy ends up grabbing his guitar, he plays it for a little bit and he's like, oh, this song. And I guess it's that the song that the Ukulele Man plays is one that has played in Dandy before during transitions or something like that. That's all I could really take from that. There might have been more to that last line than I was necessarily seeing. But just overall, this episode blew my mind. It was so good with all the different things that it was doing. And I really hope we can get more awesome standalone Space Dandy episodes like this that aren't trying to be like gimmicky or goofy. Not that there's a problem with that. I love the more comedy heavy episodes or the ones that are spoofing different things. But this episode was just so solid. And it also made me think that I hope we can get an episode as epic as this one and maybe make it a two-parter at one point. I know a big part of Dandy is that all these episodes are very standalone and that you don't necessarily need to be able to see excuse me, don't necessarily need to have seen any of the other ones in order to watch an episode of Space Dandy. Even though there are some recurring jokes, it would have been really cool to maybe have a two-parter, a really intense two-parter. But I'm not going to hold my breath for that because I also don't really feel like it's necessarily what Dandy goes for. But that is Space Dandy Season 2, Episode 2. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And stay tuned for the next episode of Space Dandy. I promise that the review will be out sooner than this. I had a very busy week. And I will see you guys later. Peace.